What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So as you guys can see, we have another edition of Heavy Talk. If you're not familiar, this is my series where I interview people that have lost a lot of weight, are trying to lose a lot of weight, or anything and everything in between. So today we have my friend Alex, who has an absolutely insane story. He has lost over 270 pounds. He was about 500 pounds at 24 years old, and he has completely changed his life, and I'm really excited for you guys to check this out. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. All right, Alex, thank you so much for being on Heavy Talk. I'm really excited because we've been talking for a long time. We've been friends for a while now, and your journey has always been one that's, I think, it's honestly like pretty incredible. Like your extremes are pretty intense. And so I was just like, when I started this series, I knew you were someone that I would end up reaching out to and asking to be on. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. You've been a big inspiration to, start my journey. So I always looked up to you, and I'm glad you had me and we had this conversation.
What's cool is like the trickle down effect of, you being inspired by me or whatever, but then you've been able to inspire a lot of other people as well. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's just cool kind of how that works. But before we get into all that, I'm really curious about, like, I would just love to know, about your journey, because I know that, what was your heaviest weight?
Documented was 480, but just before that, I'm sure I was 500 plus, because I had pictures that I was way bigger than the day that I actually stepped on the pallet scale and saw 480. So that was definitely over 5 for sure.
Wow. So you talk about that, right? The pallet scale that you had to go to. So I'm just interested, how did you get to that point? Stepping on a pallet scale, seeing 480 pounds, were you overweight as a child? Just kind of take me through that whole journey there.
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, me and my brother were always relatively heavier. I have an older brother, 3 years older than me. And I was always the younger brother. But, just growing up, our house was always like the snack house, like the meetup house. Like everybody would brought, back in the 90s, you know how it was. If your house had all the bicycles out front, that was the hangout house. And there was just Mountain Dews, Doritos, pizza rolls. Everything was just always there, always available. And, growing up, parents didn't really think about it, what portion control. They just had the house stocked, whatever, because all the boys were always over. So, I mean, I've always been obese, but I think it really started to take off, I want to say, middle school, high school. I mean, freshman year of high school, I was 280 playing freshman football. Wow. And it just escalated, like, throughout high school. I just got bigger and bigger, and, I mean, every year just going to the doctors for my yearly physical, I never really knew, because the scale there only went up to 350, so it was kind of a guessing game. And I didn't really have any medical conditions that, like, warranted, like, oh, we need to get you to, somewhere that is better for, bariatrics, because I didn't have high blood pressure, God willing. I didn't have diabetes. I was relatively healthy, per se. But just one day, just working, I was making a delivery, and it was to a warehouse district, and I stepped on a pallet scale, and I saw 480, and that was just, like, that was my rock bottom. Like, went home, was an emotional wreck, like, just didn't talk to anybody, just threw out all the food in my fridge, all the food in my pantry, and just, like, from that day, just changed my life.
So you never had any sort of health scare or anything that was like, wow, this thing, like, people talk about, like, with my journey, I had that moment when I was at the wedding, and I had that weird feeling of, like, falling down into the car, and I was really scared about that. So you never had anything like that at all ever happen to you?
No, I mean, just besides, the daily task, like tying your shoes or cutting your toenails, stuff like that. But I was always a pretty athletic big guy. Like, I remember the picture that I have that I post a lot is me in, like, a wedding jacket, and that's when I was definitely over 500, because that vest was 7XL. And I remember the day before the wedding, like, all the groomsmen and stuff, we were playing football, and I've never been shy about my body, and I was 500 pounds. And I remember I was like the all-time quarterback because I couldn't move very well, but I was the all-time quarterback out there with my shirt off. So I mean, yeah, I'm just blessed. Like I've never had any surgeries. I've never had any. I don't have any medical conditions. No asthma, no diabetes, nothing. So
I can relate to that pretty hard because I also was like what you would call, I wouldn't say I was athletic or anything like that,
yeah,
but I never, like, I was still skateboarded pretty much at my heaviest weight. I played like DDR. And so it's funny because like that can be your identity until it's not your identity anymore. And what
yeah,
I mean by that is that can be taken away so quick with whatever health scare it might be, like whatever issue it is. Or, you know, if you're close to 500 pounds like you were, or even over that, like
yeah,
one injury can take that away from you so fast.
yeah.
So that's why it's like, it's really scary, you know, when you are at those weights. Did you ever have any fear of like your mortality? Because I know for me, I would think about it a lot, and I wasn't 400 plus pounds, but I
Yeah.
would think about being afraid of being alone. Like I would think about the fact that I knew that my size was going to kill me. Like I just
Yeah.
knew that. And in
Yeah.
my head, it was more, when is that going to happen? Like, did you have anything like that?
Like I never saw it as a problem. I just kept getting bigger and bigger. But like in the back of my mind, I knew, it's like when I die, like they're gonna have to cremate me, or they're gonna have to have the, like a football team in a custom casket. Just thoughts like that. But I never really, thought about it because I just kept eating until like that day. Like I never ever saw it as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted it. I embraced it. Like that was my life, just being that big.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting, and I like to ask the questions because
Yeah.
what I think is so cool about this is that you can have two people that have similar stories, but their mindset is completely different, or the way that they got to that point is completely different. And yours and mine, you know, I think we have similar stories, but at the same time, maybe our mindsets were different at the time, and that's totally fine. So seeing 480 pounds on that pallet scale, what's going through your head at that moment, and what were the next steps that you took?
So I preach it a lot. I say, you got to have a love-hate relationship with yourself, and you need to start loving your body and know that that's your only vessel and you only get one shot. But I was just literally, I hated like I was disgusted. Like, how did I get this far? So my Instagram name is Poro92. It's nothing, fat, fit, whatever, anything like that. It was my personal account, and I just started looking up accounts, yours being
Mm.
one, Fat Girl Fed Up, and just drew inspiration, just started looking at different like meal prep pages, and I really didn't have any knowledge. I just said, hey, they did it, why can't I do it? I didn't know what macros were. I didn't know any of this stuff. I just saw, okay, eat clean, eat your vegetables, eat your lean meats and stuff like that. Like I never did keto. I never did any of those diets. I just used what was brought to me on Instagram. And, just that day, like that first month, I went from 480 to 440 just by cutting liquid calories. Cause that was my biggest problem. Like I was pounding down 12 packs of Mountain Dews and chocolate
Mm-hmm.
milk. So just making that change alone, just walking my neighborhood, it just added up real quick.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about like the Mountain Dew, because something that I've noticed with a lot of people that are morbidly obese, and when I talk to them about them trying to lose weight, is that normally we have these really bad habits that at the time when we're doing them, we don't realize how bad they are. And for me, my bad habit was drinking soda all the time, always, every meal, soda. That's what I had, 2 liter of
Yeah.
soda every day minimum, right? Like that was
Yeah.
just normal to me. Now that I know better, I understand how ridiculous that is. So I'm curious, like when you were at your heaviest or when you were leading up to your heaviest, what was your diet like? What were you eating? What were you drinking? Like, how did you get to that point?
So, just if I worked at a grocery chain down here in Florida, and we're famous. Publix, we're famous for our subs,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to have a custom sub that the old lady at the deli counter would make for me, and this is terrible. But instead of cheese, I would get macaroni and cheese and chopped up chicken tenders and buffalo sauce, and that was like that was it. And then, I mean, just stuff like that. Just pizza, always fast food. Like Taco Bell was my best friend. Like you can get so much food for $10 at Taco Bell.
Oh yeah.
And Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is my crack.
When you are that size, like the choices that you make with the food that you're eating, like they just don't, like when I look back now, they just don't make any sense. But all I cared about was how it tasted.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Like there was no other deciding factor about my food other than like how does it taste? And then a lot of times, because I didn't have much money, it was how cheap is it? So it was like I would go to McDonald's, and like a normal order for me at McDonald's was two McDoubles, 2 McChickens, a large fry, and a large drink, because that's all stuff that's on the dollar menu, you know, at the time it was. And, you know, that was like $6. And I mean, that's like freaking, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 calories, probably, maybe even more. And that was lunch. You know what I mean? So you don't even think about like, do I need this? Is this going to benefit my body in any way? So yeah, it's interesting. Like I've noticed that with a lot of people that are really, really overweight, your perception of food is so skewed, and all you care about, at least for the majority of people I've talked to, it's how does this food taste and how much can I get of it? Yeah, at your heaviest weight, or like leading up to it, was there anything that like your size was maybe preventing you, or any things that maybe people might not know about being that large? Because I mean, a lot of people don't know what it's like to be almost 500 pounds.
So, you know, just like the basic things like clipping your toenails, putting your socks on, tying your shoes, hygiene, you know, going to the bathroom, washing yourself. There was multiple times where I'm a big sports fan, and I would be invited to Dolphins games back when they were decent, not this year. And I would always be invited to sports games, and I would just turn it down because you're confined to this little seat, and you know your knees are in somebody's back, and it's not a good time. First of all, you know, people are watching you instead of watching the game. Never took a flight, never went on an airplane until last summer. So that was a big thing. 26 years old. There's so many things that you take for granted, like going to a restaurant and trying to make sure you're set up at a table and not a booth. And if you're set up at a booth, if the table can move, there's just so many little things that, you know, if you were never this big, you'll never really know, never will appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely at like the football games, like I couldn't even imagine. Like I try and think about what it was like when I was at my heaviest, and yeah, you're always thinking about almost like everything. I felt like I was very self-conscious, not in like a bad way, like, oh, what are people going to think about me? But I would always be worried about myself and like, am I going to fit in this situation? Yeah. Like the chair that I'm sitting on right now, like if I was at my heaviest weight, I would be afraid about sitting in this chair, you know? And so it's just crazy. And, you know, there's a lot of people that might blame society, and society needs to conform to the bigger people. But I personally don't think that that's the way to go. What I like to do is help people maybe make a change from being in that situation, you know? So it is really interesting. I mean, it's hard. It's tough when you are that size, because I always like to say that you're no longer, like I was no longer living, I was just kind of existing in this life. And it's really hard. And like even simple things, like I remember I was talking to you in the past, and you were talking about how you loved shoes, right? And that was like wasn't that like a big issue for you, like being like a shoe head kind of thing?
Yeah.
Sneakerhead? Sorry, shoe head.
So I mean, technically speaking, I mean, I don't know how your foot shrunk a little bit. So like, the length of your foot doesn't really shrink. It's the meat. Like I had a bear paw, and like LeBrons and Jordans, they don't come in wide. It's not New Balances. So I would have to go up, and all my LeBrons are size 13, and I'm a size 11, so they're kind of just sitting collecting dust. So just things like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a problem. Like, who would have thought that I wasn't really a size 13? Like I used to be that guy. Every week there was a new sneaker coming out, and I was getting it. Now everything changes when you lose weight.
I just want to say huge thank you to today's video sponsor, Oats Overnight. They were gracious enough to sponsor the video, and I'm very, very thankful. If you're not familiar with what Oats Overnight are. They come in these packages right here, and you get about 20 grams of protein in each one of these. And then there's in this one, there's 6 grams of fat and 36 carbs and 20 grams of protein. This is their plant-based line because you guys know that I can't eat dairy, so I really like this. This is one of my favorite flavors. This is the chai latte. It actually has a little bit of caffeine in it as well. But they also have ones that don't. This is the maple pancake one. But all you need to do is you just pour this packet right here into a shaker bottle. This is like an Oats Overnight one. You fill it up with almond milk, or if you're using the regular ones, you can just use regular milk. You put it in the fridge overnight, and there you go. You have your oatmeal with your carbs, your protein, everything that you need to start the day. What I really like about them is that you don't like have to eat them overnight if you don't want to. Like if you don't want to have cold oats, you can treat this like a regular oatmeal packet, put it in a bowl, fill it up with water, put it in the microwave. It works completely fine that way as well. But it's just a really convenient way to have a nice breakfast, and they taste absolutely amazing. My favorite flavor that I'm all out of is the blueberry cobbler. That is my favorite one, but I've been eating them nonstop, so they're all gone. This is probably my second favorite one, is the chai latte. But yeah, I recommend you checking them out. If you do want to get a discount, use the code CHANGE10 and you'll get 10% off. Again, the code is CHANGE10. Everything will be linked down in the description down below. Again, huge thank you to Oats Overnight. All right, let's get back to the video. I used to wear fitted caps back in the day.
I can't
wore
wear
a size...
anymore.
Yep, I wore a size 8, and now I put an 8 on, and it's just like a bowl that's on my head, just like moves around. It's pretty funny. One thing I definitely do want to talk about with you is, you know, through losing the weight, so how much weight have you lost in total now?
Actually, the lightest I've ever been, I think it was like 208 this morning, so 270 roughly, 270 pounds.
Jeez. 270 pounds. That's losing that's like losing an overweight guy. Like that's what that is. Like exactly. You lost a tall overweight guy, like a 6-foot dude that's kind of overweight. You lost that. That's insane. How tall are you?
5'8", 5'9" on a good
5'8".
day.
Yeah. I always say that too. Yeah, I'm like 5'9", basically. You know, no big deal. Right. So with that weight loss, because people know I have loose skin, but you've lost 100 pounds more than I have, basically. And so you're dealing with loose skin as well. Have you considered surgery? Are you keeping it? Like, what's kind of your mindset around that?
Honestly, really doesn't limit anything I do. I don't get any pain. I don't get any rashes. Obviously, you know, I do CrossFit, so there's sometimes some movements that I wear compression leggings, and you gotta tuck it in whenever you're doing anything that you're pulling the bar close, or you know, whenever you're doing a run, it makes a nice clapping sound, so I'm giving myself an applause as I'm running. But I mean, other than that, like, my arms don't really have that much. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have loose skin, and it's just something that it doesn't bother me at all, and it's just something financially that doesn't really, you know, doesn't make sense. I don't need it right now. So I mean, maybe along the line, if I'm sitting on some money, but right now, no, it's just there. It's there, and
that's one of the things with the loose skin surgery. People, they think that your transformation isn't complete until you've gotten the surgery. And I think that comes from, you know, just the different media we've seen, The Biggest Loser, all of these shows that people lose massive amount of weight, the show will pay for their surgery. One thing, the surgery is very expensive. Second thing, it's very, very painful. And the third thing is, it's not like it makes you, like, it's not like it just solves everything and then you're fine and your body looks quote unquote normal. Like, you're still sitting there with these scars, and your body, like, you're a lot of people, like, your nipples aren't in the right place, and like nothing, it's not like it fixes everything. So I've always said, if you're loose skin, one, I literally don't care what other people do. So like, if you want to get it and you just want it because you don't like your loose skin, fine, like, do that. It doesn't bother me at all, right? But like, if you're someone that's struggling with loose skin and you can't afford the surgery, like, I don't think that you should feel like you're not complete, you know, because you've done such an amazing, and I'm talking to you too, like, you've done such an amazing thing, losing the weight, that, like, to feel like you're not complete because you haven't gotten rid of the loose skin, I think is, honestly, it's kind of it's sad, you know, like, I don't want people to feel that way. And I know that you're pretty confident with it. I've seen your pictures and your videos. And I think that's really important. You know what I mean? And especially, like, if it's not causing you any pain, because there definitely are people that the loose skin can be causing pain. So, you know, if that's happening, then absolutely. I've always said if my loose skin starts for some reason, like I'm having legitimate pain because of it, then yeah, I would think about maybe getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But right now I don't have to deal with anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be different with that. You know what I mean? Like the last thing I kind of want to talk about is the type of like training that you're doing, that maybe the type of training you were doing at the start, because I think that's really important. Even if it's nothing, like what did it look like? Were you going to the gym at the start of your journey? Like what did it look like then? And what does it look like now?
Okay. So at 480, there was an apartment gym in my complex, and just your standard like treadmill, elliptical, Smith machine bench, like a cable. And I wasn't really confident with. I mean, I did weightlifting in high school, but I just wasn't like really confident with the machinery that was at the apartment complex. Kind of cheap, and I didn't want to like sit down and break it or anything like that. And like like the elliptical would creak when I was on it. So I just started off just walking my neighborhood, and I used to wear a fitness watch, and I don't really track my steps anymore. But in the beginning, I had a fitness watch, and my goal every night before bed was to do 20 flights of stairs. So I would just go up and down the stairs in my neighborhood. 500 pounds, 480. Just, I felt bad for my neighbors thinking back about it, but, it was just something that was just like embedded in my head. I had to do it every night. And, slowly from the walking and doing the stairs, I worked my way into the gym. And then Planet Fitness, I started at Planet Fitness, and, they get a lot of hate. There's a lot of jokes about them, too, because, pizza and bagels, it's kind of funny. But, I mean, everybody starts somewhere. So Planet Fitness is where I lost the bulk of my weight. I want to say I lost probably 220 pounds there. And, I loved it.
What were you doing at Planet Fitness?
Just basic. Like at first I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just doing I was just doing full body workouts and then like an hour of cardio. And, really didn't know anything about splits or, what machines to do or different variations of lifts, anything like that. I was just kind of just hitting every machine and just doing cardio. And like I was going in, like my thing was no days off, and looking back at it, it's like, I could have rested, but I was just full speed ahead. And
I think that's honestly, man, like I think that's pretty normal, because I remember when I first started going to the gym, like I remember thinking like I didn't take a rest day for like over a year. And again, I'm not advocating that to anybody, but it's just like this shift that you have from like literally not caring, at least for me, not caring, to being like, I'm like caring and then seeing changes and just wanting to continue that. Like I was the same way. Again, I'm not advocating that, but I've noticed that that's something that I've noticed with a good amount of people, I would say.
Yeah. And like I was so strict with like my food, like a cheat meal to me was like on the weekend when we went to go watch football, I would get grilled chicken wings. And like looking back, like that's not really a cheat at all. But I was just so locked in. And then so eventually I got my transition into CrossFit. A local gym near me saw one of my stories on the news over a year ago, and he's like, "Hey man, I see your transformation, yada yada. I think you need to go to the next level." And I'm just addicted. Like I haven't missed. I don't go Sundays, but I haven't missed a day. So that's just like my jam. 4:30 in the morning, I'm waking up, getting to work, and it's just next level adrenaline. Like obviously you opened my eyes to it, but it was nothing that I really was like, I don't know if I could spend $100 a month to do it, but it's part of my life now. I love it, and so. Now I'm doing 2 days every so often. I'm trying not to kill myself too much because, I'm at maintenance. So there's no need to overdo it. But just, I don't know, it's just like fitness. Like I just learned how to ride a bike 2 weeks ago. I'm addicted to riding a bike. Like
really?
I was just growing up, I was always the roly-poly. And, you fall off the bike a couple times and people just laugh at you. It's like, all right, I'm giving up, So I just borrowed a bike from my neighbor. Took me like 2 minutes, and I'm like addicted now. So
it's funny, but at the same time, like it's one of those things that just shows you, like, for a lot of people, like being morbidly obese, it really can become this prison that you don't even realize. You probably didn't even realize how much you were missing out on when you were at your heaviest, you know, or even growing up as the overweight kid. Like, you don't really realize how much you miss out on until you know, maybe you lose the weight and you start to realize, oh, like, look at all this life that there is. Look at all these great things that I can do because my body is able to do those things, you know? Like, that's the message I always want to share, is that there is one, there is a way out, and two, like, it's so worth it, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you know, as far as like ending this, is there anything that you want to say? Like, if you were to, you know, talk to someone that is day one on their journey, they just want maybe a piece of advice or just something you could say to them, like, what would you say to that person?
I mean, it's just the one thing I'd say is, you know, me, you, anybody else on Instagram, we could put in all the work, you know, that we're doing every day, but it all comes down to you. Like, you could watch me, and I'm probably one of the, you know, I have a pretty boring story life, because it's literally the same thing every day. Just go to bed, wake up early, live, go to work, whatever. But you just need to find what works for you. I mean, people are I'm sure you get it. People ask you about a diet. People ask you where to start in a gym, and it all comes down to finding something that you can commit to. Whether it be an hour, whether it be 30 minutes, whether it be running, whether it be walking. You just need to find something and just stick to it. Whatever you physically can commit to and you can enjoy. Like, don't try a diet if you know that you hate it. Don't try and go vegan if you know what I mean? You just need to find something that you can consistently do, and you're not going to feel like you're in prison.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man, it was awesome finally talking to you.
So again, thank you so much to Alex for coming on the show. If you guys do want to follow him, all of his links will be down in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, look how buff I am.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.